I also think it's important to consider geoengineering and other world-altering technologies against the alternatives. In the case of geoengineering, the alternative is not going back to the climate that we had before we embarked on the world-altering project that is extracting fossil fuels and burning them. That climate is gone, and it is not coming back in any foreseeable future. So the question is the world better off with the climate we are right now engineering inadvertently by burning gigatons of fossil fuels? Or is it better off with a climate that's been altered in one direction, owing to CO2 emissions, and then altered in the opposite direction with reflective particles in the stratosphere? And questions like these are going to keep presenting themselves at various scales. You may have recently read about the Army Corps of Engineers' proposal to build a 6-mile-long, 20-foot-tall seawall around Miami, a proposal that has, I suppose, taken on some new urgency with the recent condo collapse. There's a proposal to build an equally massive seawall to protect New York City. There's a lot of opposition to both of these projects, and I don't know if either one of them will ever get built. I don't know if either one of them should get built. But once again, these massive engineering projects have to be assessed against the alternatives. Sea levels are rising, and the rate of rise is accelerating. So in low-lying coastal cities, doing nothing is likely to mean that whole neighborhoods will have to be abandoned. And that is obviously also a very unattractive possibility. Then there's the issue of gene editing. In my book, I write about a project called G-BIRD, which, as you can see here, stands for Genetic Biocontrol of Invasive Rodents. And the idea behind this is that humans have spread rodents all around the world. Rats and mice have followed people basically wherever we have gone, and they are extremely dangerous to a lot of other species, particularly to ground-nesting birds, and particularly on islands, which have very, very high extinction rates. And with the latest gene editing technologies, CRISPR in particular, it should be possible to genetically engineer rodents, mice and rats, that carry a gene that gets in the way of reproduction. So one possibility is you could genetically engineer mice that produce only male offspring. And after a few generations of this, you wouldn't have any females, and obviously the population would crash. So the birds in this photo are Tristan albatrosses. There are only about 2,000 breeding pairs left in the world, and almost all of them live on an island in the South Atlantic called Gough Island. Gough Island is extremely remote, very hard to get to. It has no human settlements, but it does have mice, invasive mice, which attack the albatross chicks. So if you could engineer a mouse that would produce only male offspring, you could potentially get rid of the mice on Gough Island, and you could save this beautiful bird. The risk, and it's a doozy of a risk, is that if the genetically engineered mice somehow got off the island, they could spread this trait to other mouse populations. Potentially, they could spread it to all mouse populations. So then you would be looking at eliminating mice entirely, which would have, obviously, all sorts of knock-on effects on the food chains of other creatures. So as engineers, humans were already in the 1920s capable of remarkable feats, like reversing rivers. We've now sent probes to Saturn and mapped the human genome. Our talents have been extended in directions that earlier generations of scientists and engineers could hardly have imagined. When they carved "Strive On," the message "Strive On," into the stone on Engineering Hall in Laramie, they weren't thinking about genetically programmed mice. With great power, it is said, comes great responsibility. Right now, in the amazing moment that counts to us as the present, the world is being altered on a scale and at a pace that are pretty much without analog in the history of the planet, unless you count the asteroid impact that ended the reign of the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. One of the reasons that I wrote Under a White Sky was my fascination with the remarkable situation that we find ourselves in. Another reason for the book was my training as a journalist, my sense of responsibility to the biggest story that there has quite literally ever been.